Hey everybody, how's it going? Want to just stop in here on Sunday afternoon early and want to see how everybody's doing. Hope you're having a great weekend so far. Wanted to first by here, let me click the screen here. If you guys could go when you start here on YouTube, could you guys click that subscribe and like? That helped me a lot, and just trying to get the views, trying to get people watching the channel. Want to spread the word about the Galactic Comet, and then I want to offer some help to people that have asked for help concerning their product or their book or a material that they've created. And so what qualifies me as somebody who can help you? Well, I will tell you. So the last 20 years, I've been in sales and marketing for um, consumer packaged goods. So anything, like I said, I've said this in another video, anything that scans through a register that is a product, consumer packaged good. So go to any kind of store, you beep it on the scanner. That's something that's produced for the consumer. So I've helped Coke and Pepsi and Gatorade and Frito-Lay and various toy companies, Starbucks, Vans, other shoe and jewelry and sunglass, all kinds of products. And in the last several years, I've really focused on working with startup businesses. And sometimes you'll see something great, and sometimes it turns out to be not. And sometimes there's a reason for that. And I want to talk to you about that. So maybe you've got the next greatest idea, and it's my job to first talk you out of it, because you're going to waste a lot of time and money. But if you want to keep going, we want to proceed, you want to find out if you really do have something, try and make a go of it, then by all means, let's talk about that. So let's talk about first about your idea, your concept. Make sure that if you've developed the next greatest product ever, make sure you talk to some people about it that you trust are not going to talk about it. Talk to them about it, see what they think, and really try to understand practical application. Is this really going to be used by people? Are people really going to like it? And do your research first, see if it exists, because you don't want to create something that's already out there. There's 1,000,000,003 things out there, probably 100,000,000,003 things out there that you can find on the web all over the world. So do your due diligence and check it out and see if something's there. And then at a certain point, you want to get legal advice. You need to talk to a lawyer. Don't talk to your neighbor that has a friend who's a lawyer. Always talk to a lawyer about specifics and legality and what you can do and what you can't do. I remember I had a friend of mine that wanted to make something. I can't talk about it, but I'll talk in general terms. I protect the secrecy of people that talk to me about things. But they created this item, and they said this item uses various other items, and it's contained in this one type of delivery system, and they wanted to get a patent on it. I said, well, tell me what it is. And it was other manufactured products. If it's Johnson and Johnson, or it's Procter Gamble, or it's various other products brought together in a delivery system. And they said, well, I want to put a patent on that. You can't, because what you're offering depends on what I'm trying to be real careful here, trying to deliver out of. And if all of your items are proprietary to some other business, you just can't do that. Now, if you make something new that's different, then that's one thing, but they were basically taking something that existed already and just more or less compiling things together and saying, here, and it was a good idea, but you can't patent that. And this person could not understand why. And after a certain point, you have to walk away. Like I told you, and that's the way it is. So go talk to a lawyer, and they'll be more direct with you. So that's that. So let's talk real quick about copyright, trademark, and patents. And we're going to talk about intellectual property protection. And here's an article on Cron, you take your pick, Leslie Truex. And this was on June 27th, 2018. So thank you, Leslie. Appreciate that. Okay, let's go here. Intellectual property includes works, processes, symbols, and designs that were created or are owned by a company. This can include logos and slogans and written documents or artistic works. To enforce the ownership and right to use intellectual property, the business owner must register it at the United States Patent and Trademark Office or the United States Copyright Office, depending on the type of property a business wants to protect. So copyright protection. Now, the first thing I did is I went out and I filed a copyright for the Galactic Comet. So that protects my story, the characters and the story and what have you. And I'll just preface this. No matter the copyright, the trademark, the patent, it's only as good as you can afford to defend it or protect it. There is no copyright police. There is no trademark or patent police in cars with uniforms that go out there and enforce people's intellectual property. It's called lawyers. And I have seen, and I'll demonstrate how lawyers and courts and judges can go all kinds of different ways. And at the end of the day, it's how much money do you have to spend on a lawyer to get what you want? And then you don't always get what you want. But let me preface that. So copyright protection, trademark patents protection are great. They're necessary. But at the end of the day, it's what you can prove and how much you can afford. And that's a very horrible truth. According to the, now we're going to talk about copyright protection. According to the United States Copyright Office, copyright protects original works created in a fixed form, including literary, dramatic, musical, artistic, and certain other intellectual works. For example, a business can copyright its books, reports, audio, or video materials. Work is automatically copyrighted at the time of creation. However, registration is required if a business wants to sue over the use of the material by another party. Copyright registration requires the filing of a form, paying a fee, and sending a copy of the work to the United States Copyright Office. In my case, I just emailed a PDF because that's what they required for my story. So that's fine. Okay, so copyrights, though a book is a tangible, though a sculpture is a tangible, a lot of what copyright protects is intangibles. So when you say literary, it's what was created in word form or dramatic, you act out, or musical that you hear. You can create a cassette, you can create a CD, you can create a sculpture, and like I said, a book, but a lot of this just pertains to intangibles, but that's that. Okay, trademark protection. Trademarks you're going to find, I dealt a lot with this with the consumer packaged goods. The United States Patent and Trademark Office indicates that a trademark protects words, names, symbols, sounds, or colors that distinguish goods and services from those manufactured or sold by others, and to indicate the source of the goods. This means that a company can register a trademark for its business name, slogans, logos, and other items that essentially brand the product or company. Registering a trademark first requires doing a trademark search to ensure it's not already in use. Very important. Because of the legal ramifications, most trademark experts recommend using an attorney to assist in trademark registration. Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't do that without a patent attorney. I have a patent attorney, and the guy has saved me time and money that I couldn't even begin to tell you how great that was. But you do always want to get legal advice when you're doing these things. Copyright's pretty straightforward. If you just are straightforward, you're an individual with a single work, you just go on the website for the U.S. Copyright Office, copyright.gov, and you get on here, and then you handle this, and it's pretty easy. Okay, so go back over here. We talk about trademark, and then where's my pen? Patents. Where's my pen? Okay. Patents pertain to a physical product. So if you create the new type of sports shoe, a different kind of coffee cup, a new tray to deliver snacks and sell at retail. I mean, most anything. I've seen all kinds of crazy things that have been patented, but usually that's a tangible, that's an actual physical object that you're going to create, you're going to produce. So that's what that's about. So let's talk about something that's let's talk about this. I love referencing this. Actually, let's go to this one first. This is by Carol Roth. Tough Love for Business. Nothing says tough like that salmon tie. I'm intimidated. I'm not going to bother with her. I'm going to promote her page here by Carol Roth. Thank you, and let's proceed. This is about the MGA Entertainment and Mattel, and this is the famous Barbie versus Bratz. This is an excellent example of what could go wrong and then what could spiral out of control. And what happened was Mattel, Barbie, very successful doll. Maybe you've heard of it. And there was a gentleman who he was subcontracted by MGA Entertainment. I'm sorry, he was subcontracted by Mattel, and he worked from home office. And he came up with an idea on his own, not commissioned by Mattel, and it was for the Bratz doll. He was a fashion doll designer. And what he did was created something on his own. He pitched it to Mattel. They rejected it, but he wasn't commissioned by Mattel. Mattel said, here, make us this. That's not what it was. He had come up with something on his own, and he pitched it. They rejected it, and so then he went elsewhere. But he was subcontracted. He wasn't in the building, in an office, punching a clock. So that's actually very important. So his name is Carter Bryant, a fashion doll designer, came up with an idea for a line of hip dolls that he created and what he described as his free time. He presented it to his then employer, Mattel, who wasn't interested in the line. Remember, he was a home office guy, and he was an independent contractor. He then approached toy maker MGA Entertainment to partner with them on the line. Together, they created the brand Bratz and marketed the line based on the concepts. Mattel sued, noting that since Bryant was employed by Mattel at the time, the dolls were conceived in part. They owned the concept and therefore the Bratz brand. Mattel was awarded $100 million with the potential damages of up to $1 billion. It was actually about $700 million. MGA appealed, and according to the ABA Journal, not only was the verdict overturned, but now MGA was awarded $88.5 million in damages. That's true right here. Okay, so let's go to this article that was issued in 2013, January 29th. Tim Cushing, and he was up till 3:27 a.m. putting this out here. And this is a great article, and it goes on talking about, you can actually see the document here from the Circuit Court of Appeals, and you can go through and you can see the suit here, and there's some information you can read if you find that any more interesting. But this was kind of a crazy story because let's go over here. The long and short, a former Mattel employee left the company and crafted one of his first serious threats to Barbie's dominance, the Bratz dolls. Mattel, of course, was not too happy because the designer was still employed by Mattel when he came up with the idea. That's in dispute. Well, that was the contention of the lawsuit. Mattel felt it owned the idea and sued the designer in an effort to make that a reality. From that point on, it went from bad to worse to farcical. At one point, the court ordered MGA to turn over all future plans for the Bratz line, which was reversed by a lower court, which was reversed by the original court. 1, 2, 3 reversals. Wow. This led to counterclaims flying from both directions. And the last we had heard, Mattel, which had originally filed the suit, was being hit with a judgment for $309 billion in damages, including MGA's court fees. Additionally, that together with Mattel's legal expenses and this fight over dolls put Mattel on the hook for nearly $700 million. Well, again, this was written in 2013, and a few things have happened since then. But the long-running IP war between Mattel Inc. and MGA Entertainment over the Bratz line of dolls has ended for now with zero damages. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit on Thursday laid waste to Bratz. What happened? Why is this guy talking? What happened to my thing here? Let me learn how to use the internet first. Okay, let's just skip down to the bottom because this is really what I had said at the beginning. Yes, the only truth or the only truism, and this guy made up that word truism. I've heard that before. Yes, the old truism. The only true winner in our legal system is MGA's lawyers, is proven once again in this case specifically. MGA won't be collecting any damages, but at least its legal team lives on to fight another day, possibly tomorrow, from the sound of its sore-winning statement. And this is what they say here. CEO Isaac Larian proposed to retry the company's trade secret claims to a new jury. We are confident that when the second jury hears about Mattel sneaking into our showrooms and egregious theft of scores of our secrets over the years, they will be even more appalled than the first jury and award MJ even a greater damages, he said in the statement. Okay. Why do I go on and on and on about this? Because make sure that what you're creating, your product, the thing that's your baby in your mind that you want to have become reality, it needs to be yours. It needs to be characteristically different or have a great enough point of difference to where you're not going to get sued by somebody. But even Bratz had a dramatic point of difference between Mattel, but they still found a way to say, we're going to sue you because you were doing this on company time, which was in dispute. So that's a lot of fun. Okay. So let's talk about some fun lawsuits. This was Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica. Now, I was, 7 years old when Star Wars came out in 77. And I remember when Galactica came out, and I liked watching Galactica, but it was slow. It took a long time, and I kind of like lost interest in it. And I think that was a problem for Galactica for families and kids. But let's see what this article says. This is from January 11th, 1983. Is this a time-traveling website? UPI Archives. Okay, well, they put the transcripts on here. Okay. San Francisco. Producers of the film Star Wars were given a chance by a federal appeals court Tuesday to prove in court that producers of Battlestar Galactica violated copyright laws. The Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, there they are again, reversed a lower court order that said that the two science fiction movies were not similar enough for Star Wars. For Star Wars producers to prove the idea for Battlestar was taken from Star Wars. Well, many ideas were taken from Star Wars. 20th Century Fox and Lucasfilm sued MCA in June 1978, charging that MCA had appropriated the idea for Battlestar from Star Wars. Star Wars was released in 77, and Battlestar was produced in 78. Los Angeles U.S. District Court Judge Irving Hill had thrown the case out of the court before trial, ruling there was no substantial similarity between the two films. Isn't that great? No. The appeals court disagreed and sent the case back for trial. After viewing the Star Wars and Battlestar motion picture, we conclude that the films do in fact raise genuine issues of material fact as to whether only the Star Wars idea or the expression of that idea was copied. At a minimum, it is close enough question that it should be resolved by way of trial, the court said. There's another example of how much money do you have with a lawyer and how hard you're going to fight. And ultimately, it's emotional because there is what you can and can't prove, and then there's money behind a lawyer to go even further. So don't copy Star Wars. How about that? Don't copy Battlestar Galactica. I didn't think that they seemed too similar, to guess. They're both science fiction shows. They have completely different stories. But, Lucas was very territorial over what he had. So that's good for him. And talking about knockoffs, real quick, I saw this. There's an article published July 25th, 2011 by Newton. Newton. Could be Fig Newton. Oscar Isaac Newton. See where I went with that? Oscar Isaac, then Isaac Newton. Okay. All right, let's see. Oscar Isaac is the guy from Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and the other movie we do not speak of. Okay, so here was a toy made right after Star Wars came out, and his name was Knight of Darkness. I had this toy. My parents bought this toy. They thought that was Darth Vader, and it wasn't Darth Vader. But you know what? I liked that toy. He was the bad guy. Him and G.I. Joe would scrap. My shirt got ripped up here. My helmet, this helmet that got scratched, the scuffed up. It's got the cape got ripped. I lost a boot. I love this toy. It was a lot of fun. You're a kid. Who cares? And it was part of a Star Team. Okay. Well, there's the doll, and it was a lot of fun. They got it at Gemco, very popular store back in the 80s, 70s, and then they closed in the 80s. Marvel Comic did a comic for I guess it was in the box, perhaps, but they did a comic promo here, and there's the art. And nice art. There you go. A lot of fun. And one last thing with that, some Star Wars knockoffs. Here's R2-3PO. Here's Dennis. Dennis the Menace. Get it? Phantom Menace. He's Dennis the Menace. Okay. Here's Toby 1. Long braid. Very fashionable. Glorious Star-Lord. Flygon Jinn. Toby 1. Flygon Jinn. Okay. Little Girl. Oh, that had to have been Photoshopped later. Come on. And then we got Dennis again. So that's a lot of fun. Okay, so you've got the next great idea. You're going to make $1 million, and you're gonna own the galaxy. You're not. That's the first misconception. It's very hard to make a product. It's very difficult um, uh, to find something that's original, has a point of difference, because everything's been done. Do your homework, check it out, make sure that your product is not like anybody else to a point to where you can be sued, and that's very important. Usually, if you write a book and you have a story, usually you're going to be okay if you're not directly ripping off some other content. It's about werewolves and witches in a magic castle, and they're all kids, and they have this wizard that runs the place, and it's starting to sound like Hogwarts and Harry Potter. So you got to be careful with that. But just make sure it's a point of difference. And when you're done, get some legal help, get some legal advice, so people can take a look at what you have and make sure that you're in the clear. Startup companies I worked with. Oh boy, I worked with a lot of engineers and a lot of artists, a lot of people who maybe draw, paint, they do, graphic arts. But like I said, go back to engineers, and there is a certain mindset, a certain thought process that these people have. Genius level, in my opinion, genius level, but maybe not too good on the everyday business of running a business. I've had people come up with names for their business that's like 4 hard consonant words that are strung along that make no sense. That hurts your business. If people can't say the name of your business, that hurts your business. Another thing too, I worked with this one company, and they did one particular thing that was very niche, and it was technical. It was for communications, voice over IP. And this individual was a licensed installer. He had the ability to sell these voice over IP phones, but he didn't own the phones. Okay. So basically he was an install guy, but he thought he was a company. He wasn't. He was an install guy. And so he got himself an office. He got himself all this, coffee machine, a Keurig, a desk out front, a reception desk, no receptionist. He got all these things, and it was plain business. And I tried to help him by saying, okay, listen, you're doing voice over IP. You can do install. Why don't you do other things too? Why don't you install alarms? Why don't you, create an app? Why don't you, incorporate yourself with an app that functions? It's, cooperation with other companies, but you need to diversify, because the one thing that you have, the one thing that you do, you've got 25 direct competitors within a 5-mile radius. And in the entirety of Southern California, there was over 500 types of businesses like him, all significantly larger. And I said, you have an uphill battle. And it turned out that he was also competing against Verizon and AT&T. It was a lost cause. But he didn't understand that. I said, now, if you go to focus your business on commercial, large companies where you do fob, keyless entry, you do security, you do camera install, you do all these things, wrap it up into a package. No, I only want to do this. You're going to have a hard time. So understand what you're doing, understand who your audience is, who your customer is, understand what that is before you go forward, because you could very well set yourself up to fail. Okay. And if it's a literary work, it's a comic book, or it's a storybook, or it's a huge novel, just consider, what's the market for what you're making? Who is your audience? How can you market this? How can you sell it? If you can't, with the internet, there's so many different ways you can sell your product. And I'm using the web and a great community of people to help support this. From there, I'm going to try another venue that I know that I can sell the books. What's great about Indiegogo is that you can get the ball started. it's a partnership where you have people who are buying the book and you get it produced and you raise enough capital to be able to make another batch of books. A minimum order for this particular printer I'm using is 100 units. So I can get 100 units made, and then you can get another couple hundred units made with the money accrued. Okay. And then there are avenues. You can go to book fairs, you can go to craft shows, you can go to all these things that are low cost, and you got to put yourself out there, and you have to have branding. You have to have something that's eye-catchy. If you sit at a folding table with a folding chair and there's a stack of books on there and you're just sitting there and you look pathetic and sad and lonely, nobody wants to come and talk to you because they feel bad for you. They want to get away from you. So you got to put some lights, put some music in there, put some color, get some people in the booth with you, get somebody that's more attractive than you in the booth, to promote what you have, and go from there. And I've done those things, and we were, my family and I were successful at that. We created a product a few years back called Pumpkin Guts, with a Z, Pumpkin Guts. You can go on YouTube and look at the video. We did a Kickstarter video for that, but we sold these at a craft show, and it was a Halloween monster pumpkin, and we sold hundreds and hundreds of these things. And we were on Channel 5 News, and it was a lot of fun. But you have to muster up that creativity to promote yourself. And without promotion, it's hard enough trying to get something going when you have that promotion. If you have nothing, you will fail. And that is, that's depressing. That's crushing to a would-be artist or a creative person. And don't set yourself up for failure, because you don't want to shut yourself down before you even launch. You know what I mean? I'd like to see people successful with their art, but really get good at your art, know how to promote it, make sure that what you're offering is something people want, and make sure that it's going to be marketable, and that's the thing. And the internet is such a great thing. I'm 49 next month. We had to read magazines, go to the library, look at microfiche. If you know what that is, look it up. Fische, microfiche. That's how we had to look things up. We did the hard way. But just do your research and plan and make sure that what you have is going to be marketable. So anyway, I thought I hope this video helped you. If you have any questions, you can, send me a direct message on Twitter or through Facebook, or just email me. And if you have a question, I'd be happy to answer it for you. I'd like to see people succeed. Okay. So if you guys could go to Indiegogo, go on the Galactic Comet, the campaign is up there. And if you guys could spread the word, I need to sell some more books. This is a great Christmas gift for kids. It's a nice big book. It's almost a square foot big. It's 11 by 11, full color pages, and it's dynamic and fun. And if you could hit the subscribe button and the like button, that really helps me out and gets the word out there for the Galactic Comet. So thanks for everybody for watching this, and y'all have a great, wonderful Sunday. Thanks.